Yo, Caspa family, here we are taking a look at charts to really get a big picture view of the crypto market. Are we in a bull cycle or bear cycle? When's the bull season starting? When's alt season starting? Or is this going to be a prolonged delay? How long is this delay expected to happen? So let's look at Caspa and take a look across Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana to really get a big picture view of what's going on. And, we really have to think not in the short term, but look a little bit more midterm to long term. Long term, it's pretty clear where we're headed. We're going to be heading up, but I think we're going to need at least 2 weeks to 3 months to actually see that bottom that we're looking for, because we see here we're currently in this downtrend on the weekly time frame. Now that's a pretty macro. Now it was pretty clear this peak formation was happening, especially with Caspa, and it's something that I was sharing with my Patreons that this is like a great selling opportunity. I bought back in around 9 cents, and I was happy with that. That's a solid 20% gain on the Caspa holdings. Hey, that's a win. But like here, it's honestly, in my opinion, more conservative to just buy and hold than to expect a drop to continue. Yes, I do think the drop can continue. I do think indicators in the trend is pointing and continuing to point down. I mean, look at Bitcoin right here. You really do understand that there's a lot of room to fall. Okay, it could fall as low as 90,000 and still see this uptrend support. Now take a look at Ethereum here. Okay, this is some deep macro average, 400-week moving average. That's caught the support down here, and it really paints a big picture. Okay, look at the bandwidth that we're moving at. Okay, but is this the bottom? Is this where we're going to retest? I don't think so. Do I think there's a chance that we see the bottom here? There is a small chance. I mean, look at this. This is a 250-week moving average right here. Again, the bandwidth is pretty clear and has been following it in this upper half pretty well. Again, support, deep support. Now we broke through here. I broke down to the 400-week moving average. This is Ethereum, and technically there is a little bit of support here. But honestly, I think we can go lower to something like the 300-week moving average. I think Ethereum could come down to retest the 2,000 range. Okay, 2,000 per Ethereum. Again, that I think could take Bitcoin down to 90,000. I think very reasonably. This weekly indicator will have time to consolidate downward. And as that happens, I think we can see a Caspa come down to 5 cents. I think it's very possible. Is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. That's why, in my opinion, it's very smart to buy and hold at this point right now, especially Caspa price action like this. Look what happened over here. Okay, this type of indicator was down and popped back up, even down here. But the thing is, this was in a macro uptrend. Right now, we're still in a macro downtrend. So things change, and there is still room to consolidate. So it could consolidate around here, but I do think there's going to be a very solid floor at 5 cents. I think that's like the real bottom. Okay, we look at it even on the monthly time frame. Again, we see the support, the bandwidth support down to 5 cents. The top at 20 cents. And we already know that's the peak for Caspa, the all-time high basically, and you see that with the bandwidth. Where does it take it to the bottom? 5 cents. So yeah, I could probably go down a little bit below 5 cents. It's a very, just to sweep those liquidation zone, but it may even stay above 5 cents like it did over here, 5.2 cents, 5.5 cents, and may not even go down to 5 cents. So that's the thing you really have to keep in mind, that's something I've been sharing. Like, there is room to fall. Indicators point that there's room to fall, that the trend is going downward. The macro time, like, not macro, but more like midterm, it's looking down, but how far is it going to fall? Okay, Caspa, I think it's at the low is 5 cents. Solana, look over here again. You see this like weekly support, $100. Okay, I think it could fall down to $100, and that's a retest down here as well. So it's like the basically creating a macro double bottom formation. It seems like it could definitely play out like that. Look at this interesting comparison with Caspa to Bitcoin. Now this is Bitcoin's price from 2022, November 2022. Now this is when Caspa was worth, what is this? Basically, dang, all the way down to 0.0. This is when I first got into Caspa, right back down to here, 0.006. That was when I first got into Caspa. What a time it's been. So back since then, This is where we are with the growth with respect to Bitcoin. Kaspa still has a little bit higher growth if you just were to invest in Bitcoins back then. Now you see it touched down here. This was around 1 cent for Kaspa. It touched down to this like this is the percent gain. Okay, so when it sees similar percent gain as Bitcoin, well, here we go. It's spiked up. Now here again, it's like this kind of moves, but you see from back all the way down here, it's a similar. It's creating a similar support level as this bottom Bollinger Band, and of course it depends where you start off at. Now this starts off at around. It depends. The high is around 1 cent. The low is around 0.6 cents. So it depends where you start off. But look at this. It's very interesting how it works. So see right here, down to again, this is around a little bit over 1 cent. It creates like it bounces. Caspa bounces when it reaches a point where, okay, if you were just to hold Bitcoin since this whole time frame, boom, move your Bitcoin to Caspa at this level, and that's like a very smart move. You could have skipped literally all of this, hold Bitcoin, and then like literally Michael Saylor could just be converting his Bitcoin into Caspa and could have missed all of this. He could basically go back as far as, what is this, 3 years ago, and still be able to buy Caspa as if like he didn't miss out. That's a huge thing to keep in mind. Okay, so these big institutions are keeping that in mind. They're holding heavy with Bitcoin, and especially when they start to realize fundamentally Caspa is no different than Bitcoin. Well, actually, Bitcoin should have implemented Caspa 12 years ago. Literally, the paper "Fast Money Grows on Trees, Not Chains" or something like that. That protocol, that paper, that research, co-authored by Jonathan Sompolinsky, that was 12 years ago as a way to improve the scalability, the speed of Bitcoin without sacrificing security and decentralization. Actually, it improves security of Bitcoin. That protocol would go to become, all the protocols that Jonathan released from that point. Phantom, Spectre, or Spectre Phantom, and then Ghost DAG, and now we're at Crescendo hard fork creates the 10 BPS. So these protocols, Caspa is so much intertwined with Bitcoin itself that it was literally meant to be Bitcoin. That was the whole point. That was the whole purpose. That's what Jonathan was really trying to do. But the Bitcoin community kind of just barely gave it like a side eye. Okay, they weren't really interested in making major changes, even if it were to improve. They took the most conservative route, and their route was basically cementing the fact that Bitcoin is digital gold. It's slow, it's secure, and they like that. They don't want to change that. That was very certain for them. This was new technology, but here we go with Caspa. It's very new technology, but it's based on the old. It's based on the Nakamoto consensus, okay? But it also introduces connectivity between blocks. This is the block DAG, why you're able to have parallel blocks mined, multi-leader consensus. This unlocks a whole new paradigm for technology, for adoption of truly decentralized solutions in crypto, to the scalability of centralized solutions. Caspa is going to be able to take crypto to a whole new level. So seeing how there is room for Ethereum to fall even as low as 2,000 or at this point you have to be investing in the mid to long term. Okay, we're not short-term investors here. If you are, well, good luck, because there's going to be some real crazy volatility, especially at this type of this downtrend is basically confirming itself. It could have had a chance to break upward, but these indicators are pointing down, the macro indicators. Okay, and there's room to fall. To be investing now, you really have to look long term and get the big picture that, well, look at why you're investing in it, because it's the best technology. That's why you're investing in it. You're understanding that people are trying to buy up the supply. Look at wallet number 2. It's nearing 3% of the total supply acquired. They've been buying and buying and buying for over a year now, or close to a year now. When is alt season going to start? Well, I think it's going to start when this bottoms out. When this this indicator bottoms out, and we see maybe a retest. Now this is the others, okay? The crypto market cap of everything, including the top 10. Here we go. Make it down to like 200 billion down to 190 billion, it's gonna retest the floor, double bottom floor formation. I think it's gonna be a very bullish time period for crypto. I think that's going to be in the next, could be as early as 2 weeks to 3 months. That's going to be the time period where it could, if this trend continues to go downward, that's where I think it could create a bottom. But again, I'm not discrediting the fact that there is a possibility that we continue to go up. Look at this. This 200-week moving average for the others, everything excluding the top 10, is at a very solid price right now. Yeah, the short-term trend could take it a little bit under here, like we've seen. It's gone under a little bit. It's even gone under for this whole period of time during this bear season, and consolidated there for a while. But look at this. It's a very healthy trend, and it's been going. Yeah, it's starting to flatline a little tiny bit, but like we already know, Caspa was going to be helping this market cap increase quite a bit. But like here we go. It's at a very solid price. Okay, long term. Look long term. There's a lot of room up here to grow. So this is more of a worst case scenario. Looking at a 350-week moving average, you see support down here. Basically, the final FOMO sell-off event to trigger this great bull run, bull cycle. So worst case scenario, we see a bit of a capitulation event that retests down to here. That'll complete the full, basically round trip for people. Do I think it's going to happen? Again, extremely hard to tell. Okay, I'm not trying to make these like precise predictions. What I do know is that we are in a bit of a downtrend, and there's a lot of different support levels for crypto. Now, I'm personally bullish. I think that we can see this this uptrend here was this was the bottom. This uptrend will carry it upward so that we won't have to retest a floor level. I think we could retest the floor level right here, but am I saying that it's impossible to go lower than this point? Basically, is it impossible for Kaspa to go lower than here? No, crypto makes the impossible possible. Okay, it's always possible to do something unbelievable, but like look at this. Okay, keep this in mind. This bullish breakout created this huge okay, think of it like a neckline. I saw it on X. Someone explained it like a neckline. Now this neckline, it ends at 5 cents. This was the ceiling, okay? The ceiling at the 5 cent range. It kept hitting it. It was like that 20 cent mark all the way up here. Now, where did the neckline basically stop? It stopped around 10 cent. Okay, so we have this range between 5 to 10 cents that there can be a lot of fluctuations, and that's what we're currently seeing around here. Okay, fluctuations. You look historically speaking, and the support is at 5 cents. So anything lower than that is basically hunting liquidation zones. So I very much do not suggest to go long and leverage your holdings, especially in ways that are very risky, because this is a downtrend. This is going to be a lot of volatility. We could tomorrow just spike back up to here, retest something like 8 cents, and then who knows what. Okay, volatility is the nature of the game, especially while there's a lot of uncertainty with the markets. World War III always looming. But I think it's also very important to be realistic and be real with the market at hand, that what's happening. So here we go, looking at the 100-week moving average, and it saw it as a resistance zone. So what does that mean? It means that, well, we're going to have to likely retest somewhere below that resistance zone, and we're going to have to keep, battling it. But I mean, the trend couldn't overtake it. The price couldn't overtake it. This is looking at Ethereum. So we're going to have to drop back down before we can finally have another chance to take it out. Again, looking at the 50-week moving average, it's created a bit of a downtrend, and that kind of paints the picture that, yes, we are in the midterm, something like that. We are in a downtrend. We are looking downward. Indicators are pointing down, especially right here, and that's what we're gonna have to do. In the midterm, we're gonna have to look downward before we can head back up. You see, this line here is gonna have to flatten out. This 50-week moving average is going to have to flatten out, and I think it will in the coming either with 2 weeks to 3 months. I think we're gonna have the chance to flatten out and again retest and reach up to basically reclaim all this territory up here for crypto. That's looking at Ethereum, and of course I mean the same for Kaspa as well. Now Kaspa is different because it's much more volatile because it's a smaller market cap, so it has a lot more room to grow than of course Ethereum, Solana, and these other ones. not just because of its recent price action, but because of its underlying technology, especially in the coming year, and especially 2 years, once all the developments start releasing. I don't just mean smart contracts with layer twos, but I mean with ZK rollups, zero knowledge proofs. That'll be able to bring in that atomic composability, that seamless integration between all these different layer two protocols, and layer two protocols that aren't just on Caspa as well. Like you could be using all these different smart contract logic from different ecosystems within the same within the same click of a button simultaneously. It's going to unlock so much application and usability for Caspa. So zero knowledge is what I'm so excited for. That brings truly decentralization. This it brings Caspa to like its full. It unlocks the full potential for Caspa, smart contracts, but Dagnite as well. Now that unlocks the full potential of the scalability for Caspa, being able to be truly internet speed with its reactivity to the internet delay, basically reactivity to the best and worst case scenario of internet delay, of latency. It's honestly alien grade technology, and once that releases, 100% I believe we're going to see adoption skyrocket. We're going to see real world application like none other. It's going to be impossible to ignore Caspa at that point. Now this is again looking in the 2-year time frame, within the next 2 years. Yeah, it's kind of long term. So this is that early investment that's what I'm looking for. Next 2 years minimum. So the people that are looking to cash out this coming bull cycle, even trying to cash out by November, I think it's a little bit crazy talk. You're trying to invest so short term. I'm sorry, that's kind of like gambling, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm an investor, and I really hope you also are trying to be an investor as well. That's where you make the best profit, most maximize your gains as an investor, not as a gambler or as a short-term trader. Sure, it's possible to trade the macro time frame, seeing the bottoms, the peaks on the macro time frame and taking advantage of them. Sometimes those are rare opportunities. I mean, something like this up here. I mean, this was an unfortunate timing because I was like trying to like stack up in preparation for KRC20. I was loading up. I was going to go heavy, and I went heavy in KRC20 that launch. But indicators were not very strong in the sense that weakness up here, retouching that top Bollinger. So, traders are trading, and that's just the nature of the game. Because if you are holding and investing long term, because it's the value that you're investing in. You're investing in the technology for long term. Adoption is the only, basically time for adoption is the only limiting factor. Adoption's coming. It's not a matter of if but when. Now we look at Bitcoin. Like back in the day. Now this right here, this point when Bitcoin was worth around like 60 cents, 60 cents, $60, around that range, $70, $80, around there. That's what Caspa is currently worth. The value, the same market cap as Bitcoin. What is this? 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Okay. Now I made a video on this. Now look at this. Okay, we're looking at now the 200-week moving average, and take a look at that. Okay, we're seeing every single time the price went below this, that's the perfect time you could have purchased Bitcoin. Okay, well, excluding back here when it wasn't enough data to actually have this 200-week moving average. But look at this. Boom, boom, boom. There's such rare events where it went below, basically a panic sell-off. Boom, purchase that up, and look what you just got. Massive gains. Again, a little bit down below the 200-week. Purchased it. Boom, blast off. Sniped them, and you have great returns. Even down this whole period, this bear cycle, smart money loading up. Now that's how it's done. It retested down here, 20,000. Love it, 25,000. I think another retest. So I was trading back down here, and it was a good time. And now we're over here, and again, there's a lot of room between here and the 200-week moving average. But again, you have to understand that there's now mainstream adoption. There's countries loading up on Bitcoin, and even companies using it as a reserve as well. So it makes things hard. It makes it hard to get Bitcoin cheap. It makes it real hard to get it real dirt cheap, below the 200-week moving average. But is there a possibility that it comes back down below 200-week moving average? Of course there is. But I don't think that's going to happen, in the near time frame. Maybe when it gets, back all the way up here, $200,000, it might be able to drop back down to 150,000, and there you go, it's below. But that's why you just never know with crypto, and you have to keep your conviction solid, because once you lose your conviction, you're going to be getting washed away. Like, these trades are going to just destroy you, and you're going to end up having less and less of your holdings as you make these trades based off of emotions rather than long-term conviction. Because people that are holding Bitcoin here, I mean, this could be a support level, at this 100K range. It could be a support level down at 9. It just gets less and less likely that Bitcoin drops, okay? Because there's support at every single level, basically. 95,000, 100,000 there's support, 95,000 support. You look at the support on different moving averages, okay? These moving averages can all be forms of support. Like, here we go. Look at this 200-week moving average. It's a huge support level. But it's very unlikely, because look at the drop that would be required. Where's that money going to come from? Who's going to be selling? Like, there's people that bought 11 years ago, and the person made invested 134,000 in Bitcoin 11 years ago, basically around the same market cap of Kaspa, okay? And then boom, 11 years later, their 134,000 investment is now worth 31 million, and they just sold, okay? That's literally, I made a post about that. So you have the OGs, the long-term holders. Those are the guys selling, and who's buying it up? The smaller holders and institutions, governments, companies. Okay, so there's just a redistribution of the supply that's ongoing with crypto right now. Same deal's happening with Kaspa. So you got the sharks selling. Okay, sharks are selling to wallet number 2. They're selling to dolphins, 100K plus. Redistribution, extremely healthy. Now looking at the 200-week moving average for Solana, again, we saw that bounce. It's good to bounce from the 200-week. Now, that's good to see. Okay, are we going to have to retest it again? Again, I doubt it, but we may have to. That'll be a double bottom formation at $100. Would be extremely bullish if we do drop down to there, because that just gives people the opportunity to be like, all right, it's so underpriced right now, I'm going to buy it up. It's like smart. It wouldn't be wise to be selling at that point, basically, okay? People would have already sold before then, so that's why once it drops down to such levels, it turned into like the last sell-off event, the FOMO sales. Retail sells their bag in desperation, thinking it's going to go lower. They just give up, like what's happening with Caspa now. You see some OGs selling and like, what, I give up, or I'll just keep a moon bag just in case, but I'm basically out. That's what we unfortunately need in crypto and in Kaspa and just across the market. And that's how these markets operate. They need that desperation. They need those FOMO buys just as much as they need those FOMO sells. The FOMO sells are going to be able to basically create that final wick that goes all the way down and lets the institutions buy it all up. And then there we go, blast off. They want the price to go up. Everyone wants the price to go up, and the price goes up. They got their bags, and they're ready for the bull run to start. That final wick can create that final, indicators go all the way to the bottom. And that's unfortunately what we need. Like, look back here, like this final, drop down to here. Look at this. This is with Ethereum, 50-week moving average. This final sell-off, it touched the top, touched the bottom. All right, it got the 2 check marks. Let the traders trade both ways. Market makers played them both, and then boom, blast off from there. That's just how it works. And that's why, if you're going to be trading, honestly, not the move. Honestly, not the move. You're going to be, if you're going to be trading, let bots trade for you. If you're such a good trader, make a system that does it automatically. And that's something I've been really thinking about, and I've already started. So I may have to finish that, and maybe I'll release it and make it public. But I don't like trading manually on short time periods. Like, I would definitely trade something like down to here, this macro level, and ride that bull run, something like that. At this level, it's like, look, it's in the middle. It's around the average of both the top and the bottom. So is it ideal to trade? Honestly, not. I'm going to stand by like a correction level 2 around Ethereum to either have to retest this double bottom, but honestly, I think it's not going to have to go down that low, because the uptrend is continuing to move up, the macro uptrend, and just the global economy. The dollar may have to spike back up too. Like, Doing so would take crypto down a little bit because the dollar has fallen quite a lot in the past months. So again, this is that volatility, traders trading. But look at this uptrend. This is the 275 week moving average. Just look at what's happening. Okay, I found support down here, and the trend is continuing to move upward. Okay, it's very hard to see, but it's moving up. And as it moves up, it's going to not have to require such a low retest. Again, look back here. Okay, the low moved upward. That's because the moving average is going up. So it didn't have to drop down as low to retest support. So we'll see exactly where Ethereum and crypto drops. Like Ethereum could see support even at this level, down at 2,100, or even as low as 2,000. I think 2,000 is pretty reasonable. It's that even number. So am I going to be trading this type of a swing from here to here? No. I was really, honestly, I was really holding back from not shorting Ethereum at this 2,800 range. I was really trying not to. I ended up not, but yeah, I mean, I look at the broader market, and that gives me idea of where Caspa is headed, because you have to also keep in mind that Caspa was born during the crypto bear market, so it was seeing this explosive growth in its early days, while the rest of the crypto market was collapsing essentially. So are we going to see that again? Who knows? Honestly, who knows? The move from here on the daily time frame, I mean, it was the top gainer in the top 100 cryptos. This type of where is it? Oh, no, it's so short term. This type of move from here to here, it was a top gainer in the top 100 crypto. Like that, I mean, that's no small feat. I know it's hard to remember how Caspa works during the bull cycle, when everything, the sentiment is very bullish. I know it's hard to remember, but let me remind you, when Caspa is moving up, it has no mercy. Like it runs. When Caspa runs, it runs, and it has explosive growth. So personally, what I want to see a retest of the macro bottom of this around the 5 cent. Okay, get it over with, let it hit it, and I want to see a strong bounce that takes it even as high as 10 cent. Like this is a real nice bounce to hit 10 cents, let it even go higher. I want to see the bull run start from there. For the altcoin season, I want this to be the bottom, 5 cents. But you don't always get what you want, but I think it's a very high likelihood that we could see that happen. But a lot is going to rely on the fact that Bitcoin needs to hold strong. So it has very much dominated the entire crypto. This is the entire season. Was just about Bitcoin. There's no alt season. I mean, there's a little bit, but altcoins are down heavy. Bitcoin's all the way up, basically at near almost at all-time high. So this coming altcoin season, if it does happen, if Kaspa hits that 5 cent mark, Solana hits the $100 mark, Ethereum hits 2,000, or if it even drops as low as 1,500. If that happens and Bitcoin comes down to say 90,000, let's be a little bit bullish. I mean, it could go down to even 80,000, but it's going to need to have very, very strong bounce. Okay, it's going to rely a lot on the fact that how much do people actually want crypto at that time. Now, I think we're going to see very high demand for crypto after it retests this low, or this low support level, wherever that ends up being. I don't think it's going to have to drop lower to a little bit of a doomsday level. I don't think that's going to happen, because the demand for crypto is extremely strong right now, just like the demand for gold is extremely strong. People know there's failing systems all around them. Dollar to fiat, the Chinese yuan, and I'm saying that wrong. I tried looking it up. The Russian ruble. I mean, these currencies, these centralized liabilities. That's exactly what it is. It's a liability. You try to withdraw from a bank, and then boom, the bank is down because it's a centralized, has single point of failure, and you can't even withdraw your money. Like that's what happened with Iran. You want to withdraw money in China, oops, the banks don't have your money. They put it into risky bets in real estate, and that real estate is failing and created ghost cities. So sorry about that, but you don't have your money. Your money doesn't exist anymore, because it never existed. It was just printed in thin air, magically appeared. But that's why the whole narrative, it will be changing. I think in the next decade, everything will be coming into crypto. Everything, like just the whole swap. It's going to be a whole revolution of the financial industry. A lot of this, centralized risk is going to be moving over to what crypto has to offer. And I really do believe Caspa is going to be at the forefront. It's going to be reaching the top 5. I 100% believe, especially in the next like 2 years. I think I could reasonably do that. 2 years is a lot of time for crypto, and it's something that took even Solana to absurd heights. I mean, look at this. This is just in basically 1 year. I mean, it was consolidating there. So basically, you see within around a year and a half, 2 years, it saw its crazy run from inception. Call it a crazy run or not for Caspa, but it also had quite a good run. Okay, a lot of people have gotten early, and people that gotten this early, all the way down to here. I mean, we knew what we were getting into. Okay, I mean, I was in that Discord server with Caspa back down, 2022, 2023, and we knew what we were investing in. We knew Caspa was like none other. We knew there were so many maxis in Caspa even at that time, and I myself was also a Caspa maxi. So there's a lot of OGs that hold a lot of Caspa, and you see it. The sharks are selling. The 1 million plus wallets, they're selling, and they've been selling since the top. You have to understand that Caspa had a huge run, and it needs to redistribute the supply. It needs to redistribute to institutions, unfortunately. And unfortunately, people just that made good money, they don't want to hold, they want to cash out, and it's kind of sad. But that's just the way crypto works. So this run, it's over, okay? And it's coming to the bottom. It's coming to a bottom once again. I really do believe 5 cent will be that bottom. I think this is going to be a great support level. As we saw up here, the peak, the peak formed, around this level, at least on the macro time frame, on the monthly scale. But we're going to just have to kind of hope and pray that Bitcoin doesn't capitulate completely, that there's still very strong demand, like there currently is. There is very strong demand, not just with Bitcoin, but also with Ethereum. I mean, even the ETFs, there's huge inflows. And these ETFs, they also require to hold, reserves in actual coins itself. So the macro trend is moving up. I'm really not worried so much about it. I think Bitcoin's going to have a very long consolidation period around this 100K range. So investing in Bitcoin while it's at a huge dominance of the crypto market, not ideal. Going to be honest. Get in on the best alternative, the one and only alternative for Bitcoin. What it truly wanted to solve and achieve, the only solution is Caspa. Caspa is literally Bitcoin, proof of work. You got the Nakamoto consensus, the same security, actually technically more secure, lower confirmation times, just literally blows you away once you understand that Caspa is Bitcoin 6,000 times faster. So anything else that tries to say, oh, we're the altcoin, we are another altcoin. It's like Caspa isn't an altcoin, it is the coin. It is the only altcoin that is honestly viable. Ethereum has major problems with because it's not super efficient. It needs to rely on centralized layer 2s for its smart contracts. Solana also has problems. It has much less divided smart contract layer because it's integrated within Solana layer 1 itself. However, that brings massive problems to the layer 1 because it's not nearly able to sustain such high transaction loads. So it experiences very problematic downtime as well as very high transaction failures. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the best of Ethereum, you get the best of Solana, you get the best of Bitcoin. And that's what Kaspa is. Kaspa is the best of the crypto market. It's the only solution of the crypto trilemma. Invest in it. Invest in it now. And you are going to be wealthy. Peace out.